to everybody. Appreciate you being here. We'll our one of our presenters. I don't know if that's them arriving right now. Okay. Well, um, come on. You're first on the agenda, so you guys are you're the headliners. Yeah, no such thing. Yeah, please, right there. And if is that light on with the microphone? Okay, great. So Larry, who do you have here with you? I know Sterling. He's not with you.
It's before Labor Day. I could
Who is
still
it?
wear the white.
Trey. Okay.
He's president of our development.
Okay. Welcome, Trey.
So I do what he tells me to do.
Okay. Well.
I said my AirPods.
Yeah, the key is to just get close to that microphone. Some questions. And sorry, I didn't mean to direct you straight from the entrance into the hot seat, but we really we've only got a couple of items on the agenda, so whenever you're ready.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on the mic. Can the remote people hear me?
Chris, can you acknowledge?
Yes,
Yes, we can
yeah, we
hear
can
you.
hear you.
Okay, great. Well, we're grateful to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So we just wrote up some of the things that we've been talking about. Gave it to you this morning. I hope everyone's had a chance to look at it. It's kind of short, so there may be questions about that. But as we've looked at trying to be neighborly and trying to partner in ways that would be mutually beneficial, it seemed like a few things kept coming up. And so it seemed like a time to get in front of the council, have the public and neighbors come and see if we could put some flesh on the bones of some ideas that we have been thinking about, and maybe we can move forward on them, or maybe tonight we decide none of them are any good in terms of ideas that would be helpful, and we walk away from it. We're kind of happy either way. I guess some ideas may be more appealing than others, but I'd love to hear your feedback. Should we go through them one by one?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good.
Okay. Well, the first one is the roundabout. And the county asked us to use that as our entrance on the west side. And of course, we already had an entrance north of that. And it seemed like that was not a good place to come in, mainly because it went right through some neighbors' homes. And but beyond that, the county was saying, and I think we've heard from others as well over the months that we've been talking about this, that the roundabout would not be as, or our entrance north of the roundabout would not be as safe. So coming around the roundabout and then having to maybe stop at a future stop sign, I'm not sure what the county would do if we did have that entrance. There seems like there'd be something like a stop sign, eventually a light, and so trying to stop going downhill didn't make sense, trying to have cars turning into traffic, turning across traffic. And so we've tried since that time with the county and in subsequent meetings with people here in Woodland Hills. That issue, the one thing we needed to do to make it work was to buy the Knott's piece, the 11 acres there on Woodland Hills Drive. And so that's what we did some time ago. And we've kind of been looking at it ever since. We know that if we were to come in off of the east leg off of the roundabout, that would affect the city in a few ways. Number one, it's your land. We would have to cross your land in order to get to a road on our property. And so there is an issue with you all wanting to do it or not wanting to do it, and you kind of have veto power over this issue. So if it's still a good idea, if it still makes sense, then we should talk about that. The other thing that we need to look at and have been diving into it a little bit is engineering, because once we go off that east leg, unless we have a hang glider or something, we've got to have a bridge there, and that would be the first of the 3 bridges. And so, but don't worry, if you decide not to do this, we have another place for a bridge so we can maintain the 3 bridges, which is kind of important at this point in time, right?
It'll just be a really small.
I mean, we've already put it on the hats. I've got it on a shirt. It's like the 3 is really pretty important. And then we talked to the county about it and they said they're thrilled about it because they think it's better traffic flow. So are there questions about this particular item? I know the other thing would be mailboxes. Yes. Julie and I were there, but you probably don't know.
I've been talking, since we first brought this up
Yeah.
last spring, I've
Yeah.
been talking quite regularly with the Director of Public Works. And I talked to him again today, and he said he has no knowledge of your request and that they are not putting this forward. The county, they're not proposing that we should allow you that
Text Julie,
access.
get the names.
And they are anticipating that you will come off of 1280. And that was the proposal that was given, and they are, they will work with things. They anticipate that, yes, there might be some improvements to the roundabout in the future, but because they own that, they will be repairing that. They have it in their budget for 2025 to replace the damage from
Hey, Carrie,
the
your mic's
oh,
not-
I forgot my mic.
Start from the beginning.
Probably I picked up a little bit, I don't know. But they anticipate that they will be repairing the roundabout in their budget year of 2025. But to their knowledge and to what they are anticipating is that you will use the 1280 access and that it's not required from them to do this forward. Now, that doesn't mean that we might not vote to let you do that, but I want to make sure that we are speaking the same
Yeah. that's great.
language. And I figure if the Director of Public Works doesn't know about it, then something might not be in place. Okay.
Hey, Ted, just make sure, so we've got a lot of people online. We got a microphone right here. You want to just keep it with you? I have a feeling you're going to be offering a fair amount of input tonight.
So I did have a conversation with Glenn Tanner a little bit about it, who is just under Richard, but I don't know that he saw at that time anything official, but he said it had been pitched out there. That's who was aware of it, was Glenn.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that we're
Yeah.
all speaking the same thing here and making sure that our decision isn't based
Sure.
on County Public Works requesting this per se.
Yeah, that's fine.
But that we are making a decision independent of whether they are, if they are truly requesting it, or to Richard's knowledge, they are anticipating the 1280 access.
Okay, and let me clear a couple of points up. 1280 access, of course, we have on the north side. On the west side, we are looking at the roundabout. We think that's preferable, but if you go north along Woodland Hills Drive,
Right.
you'll see we have another drive to the west.
Right.
That's the
that
drive we
access.
would use, not 1280.
Right, that's
Right.
there's that access, that 1280 coming up, and then that access and that little road that goes by Brockbanks that
Right.
is the one that you're anticipating would be your second.
That's, when we
access to
when we
the
bought the
west.
land,
Right.
that was our second
We've
access.
got that 80 feet easement or buffer zone.
Yes,
where-
yes.
Yeah, we kind, I
So,
remember it
so
all.
I don't know who Richard Nielsen is. I've never met with him.
He's just he's the Director of Public Works for the county.
Right, so I never said I met with him, or I never said he said we should do this. We met with, did we get the names yet?
It might have been Sam or Logan.
I can
I've
tell
talked
you
to-
probably during the course of this meeting, because we texted Julie, who was with me,
That'd be good.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
okay, and who else?
and that's who I spoke with, was Glenn. But
Okay,
yeah.
so we
Okay.
met with Glenn. He had someone else with him. I'm sorry, I can't remember his
Okay.
name. But it wasn't Richard Nielsen. And we said, here's what we're planning on doing. We didn't pitch it to them. They asked us if we would do it. They said, you'll be our friends for life if you'll do two things. Did you get Glenn to come and verify this? Happy to do that. First thing was, if you'll come off the roundabout, instead of that drive to the north off of Woodland Hills, we would like that. Second thing is, we're having problems with stormwater going down that gully and going across the highway and getting into people's basements. So if you can solve those two issues, we would really appreciate it. We'll be your friends. Think it meant anything, but special treatment. Yeah. So Carrie, that's what happened, and we can.
So discussing
Talk to them
the
if you'd like.
water runoff and the access then at the what are we calling that little road by your place? What do we call that now? It's just called a driveway right now, so it doesn't really have a number to it, but
1507.
1507 West. Okay, so, so what you're saying is that Glenn then proposed that maybe, instead of coming off of 1507
Yes.
West and then dealing with the runoff, this might be a better
Yes, he
location.
proposed those two things. We did not bring them up.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from
Glad
the
we cleared
council?
that up because we're not saying this is something the county is pressing us to do. They just made a request and it was
Okay.
from Glenn.
And just to clarify, your proposed roundabout reconstruction would address the stormwater issue? Is that
Well,
part of?
that's item.
I know it's jumping ahead, but,
That's item number
but that
5.
is something that,
Yeah.
those two items. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can move on unless there are other questions from the council on the roundabout upgrade and access.
Well, I'd actually like to know, I mean, you have in here talking about rebuilding and upgrading, reposition, upgrading mailboxes. What are your thoughts on that? Have we put any thoughts to that? I know I'm probably not engineering yet, but.
Yeah. So we don't have thoughts on that. We think that would like to see. Have heard is there are more people. Facility. So I'm guessing that means you need more. In terms of where it would go, I would think it's really in a good spot. I mean, the turn off on the roundabout is a great spot for people to go and get their mail. Going.
And are you feeling like there's room
That's my concern.
That is a concern. I think we might have to extend out from the mailbox northward and build up a little bit more of a platform there before it drops off.
Yeah, because the road would actually cut out a lot of the parking that we use and things like that. So there's definitely some need for some more thought into that.
We would agree. We haven't looked at the engineering. My first thought when this came up was I went out there and walked around the site and I thought we're going to have some extra soil, which you're probably seeing a big pile of topsoil
Just a
out
little.
there. And we're going to be digging the pond and doing other things. So we have a lot of extra fill and base and rock and sand and topsoil. So we could, with local material, we could build that out to the north, which would expand the site, probably make up for the loss of the stuff on the south with our road going.
Mayor, can I just add to that real quick? Sorry.
Yeah.
So I did just from our city's perspective. I spoke with some traffic engineers about the roundabout, and I've spoke with Glenn about it too. But and I think from our perspective, as far as a traffic flow path, having an intersection that would be just below the roundabout would be kind of a traffic. How would we say it?
Hell?
Yeah. It would disrupt the traffic flow quite a bit because what you'd be doing is you'd be coming off the roundabout, going about a block, and then have to stop again. And then you start traffic backing up. You're going to be trying to stop on a hill that we know is not plowed near as well as the city is. So, and when I spoke with some traffic engineers about this to look at these options, just from our perspective, I think keeping a flow at the roundabout with no stop sign going down Woodland Hills Drive or lights, whatever would be required there, I think would be safer and allow traffic to move better too, from what we've dug into with some of our engineers as we've looked into these.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to item 2.
Salt shed. What we've heard from people in the city, staff and others, is the salt shed is two things. One, it's located nicely, bottom of the hill, in a good spot. And two, it is probably not adequate for your current service needs, and a new shed would be a nice thing. So, so in looking at that, we said, well, what if we could pay market rate for the land? But it could also be back of house maintenance facility for the golf course for lawnmowers and a couple of things like that. So it seemed like it could be a win-win, and so we propose it tonight as something to consider, and would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay. Anybody have any comments on that portion?
Just
Yeah.
trying
no.
to figure out where we would put it,
That's
you
what
know.
I'm thinking
That's
too.
the only concern I
So
have.
that's not,
Another, sorry, input on that. So there is another location possible, a little bit of digging into that would be also at the bottom of the hill. And I
That's good.
spoke with the property owner to see about their willingness to maybe provide some property down there. They're open to the idea, and it would be a location that would be pretty similar to what we have, only probably a little bit better access.
But it's probably not out of sight, right?
Not completely out of sight, and it would depend on how we fence it. It's right on 11200
Oh,
on the very
Willow Reed area?
farther,
Oh, good. Okay.
right on the edge of the boundary, basically.
Well, well,
might,
further away from the entrance of the city is where I desire it, you know, kind of, but
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering, is
Yeah.
aesthetics of driving
There's
into
a-
our city, what do you see?
And I haven't really just other than browsed, so I don't know. I haven't talked about this in any kind of detail, so I'm trying to be a little bit vague in a, but it's near things like that. So
it's not a bad place.
yeah, I ran this by the snowplow drivers, and I mean
Yeah.
they're
That-
great
that-
with that idea. So
That works.
Mark, if it's related to Public Works, I want to hold off on the public comment until we have the public comment portion, but I appreciate your willingness to contribute, because I know you are involved in Public Works, so if you would, hold off. I'm asking Ted just because he has all the answers when it comes to most of these things, so.
My question then is, pay market value for the current shed and property that is there, would that still cover this location that you're looking at, including the land and the rebuild? I mean, that's,
Yeah.
could we do
Yeah,
some?
I think that that's something that would certainly be negotiable. I mean, I think that, it would be a question of if it's something that, if fair market value is sufficient, or if it has to be replacement at no cost to the city. I mean, I think there are a couple of different approaches that could be taken. Okay, Janet, we do have to get you a microphone. Did we?
Oh,
If she needs it, she can still mic.
Okay, I hope
So
everything's
I'm
okay.
right here too.
at this point, I wouldn't support anything that costs the city money, because what we have is working for us. Just so I want to be blunt and open with that. We don't have extra money. We don't have the tax base. You guys know that. I would not support anything that costs the city money unless we decided to put some upgrades into it. But if it's like for like, it can't cost us anything for my support, 100%.
Anybody else have anything to comment on? Okay, then let's go on to item 3.
Item 3, density on the 11-acre piece that we purchased. To make some of these things work, it's probably going to be important for us to be able to monetize that land. So we make this proposal to do so. When you talk about buying the land at fair market and building another building of like size, that's expensive. And so we would, of course, have to look at our other options for locating a back of the house place where we could put equipment. And so I think the negotiation would be either work for both of us or we wouldn't go forward. So that, you're right. I mean,
so just residential density is what you're asking for on those 11 acres. Okay.
11 acres. Can you help me point to it? Is it in here?
yeah, that's it. You're exactly in the middle of it.
Is that's that rectangle right there?
No?
No, not all, just the
It's
triangle.
Just the triangle.
Yeah.
So it goes along where that bank is.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's that lower.
Yeah,
okay.
in front of Scott's house
Not
and,
including the house.
Not including that house. And
Okay.
the reason why, one of the reasons why we got it solves the storm drain, as we mentioned. And it also allows us to go eastward across the southern edge of this 11-acre piece.
Okay.
So that's the strategic reason for that piece. We're happy to, you know, I suppose if, well, let's get to the density issue, Carrie. I think you were asking that one. So the density
Yeah.
would be akin to some of the properties that we have. Maybe that there, maybe a further over to the
Which
right.
is how many units per acre?
This size,
It would be probably in the 5 or 6 units per acre.
Okay.
That's kind of what we've got in that northern section there by the lake.
Okay.
You've got a little bit older plan here. The lake is shown running north and south here, but really it's running east and west. That's just one change. It follows the
There it is.
contours a little more.
yeah, these are like eighth
Yeah.
acre, aren't they?
Those are quarter acres. We've got some that are 10th acres in the far northeast corner,
Yeah.
and
10
we've got
acres.
you know, we've got 6,000 square foot lots over there between to the left of the lake there. So something around in that area, and that's what we would seek. So
So 5 to 6 units per acre, but it could go up and down because some of them are only 1/10 of an acre, some of them are more.
yeah,
Are
we
you
haven't done any plan on it.
okay?
We
Just
rough-
kind of roughly estimating.
Yeah, we're somewhere in that 5 or 6 per acre is what we're thinking. And we would plan to, of course, for the engineering, the traffic.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, item 4.
Item 4 is kind of a, you know, if we're going to get density, we're trying to offer something here. So we would offer some revenue, tax-based type revenue for the city. Now, this has got a little tricky for us because we can't put hotel units on that piece right there. Because the hotel company, the flag, needs all of the units to be on the golf course. They want them to be premium location, premium views, golf course frontage. And so we tried to take this 11-acre piece and say, what if we put hotel in that? Because that would give you some overnight transient tax, which is pretty nice on the scale of things. Auto mall is pretty good for a city, and then hotel is probably right under that. So it's pretty nice for revenue coming into the city. In the absence of being able to put hotel on the 11 acres, which we can't do, we would look at the hotel revenue that would come into the city of Salem, and we would tack on some onto that out of other operations to pay you something for the density on the 11 acres. So trying to make it worth your while. I think that's actually better than some of the original conversations we were having, which about that 11 acres, which were a grocery store or a gas station, convenience store, something like that. Those wouldn't bring in the same revenue that we're talking about. I think this might be more interesting to the city.
And is it allowed under state statute to have tax from one
No,
jurisdiction to another?
I don't know that it is, but that's not actually what we're proposing. What we're proposing is there's going to be some revenue that is generated on our project in Salem to the city of Salem for those hotel units. We would tack on extra money and pay you the extra money. It wouldn't be taxed from the
Yeah.
hotel. It would be some negotiated percentage of the tax that we're getting.
Okay, so
Salem
Salem would
City.
still get their whole cut.
Salem
whatever
gets
they
their whole
set,
cut.
and then-
We take
Okay.
it out of our operating margin from the whole project because we'll make money on the hotel, and the hotel is not just overnight money for the city. It's hopefully some profit for us, you know, as the builders of the hotel. It would be contractually tied to the revenue, just like Salem's tax is tied to the revenue. So there would be a kind of a similar feel of what you would get and how you could count as what Salem is getting from the tax on the overnight stays. So we'd have to negotiate that. We'd have to run the numbers and see what it looks like, and you'd have to like it, or if it's not enough to make any difference, then why would you do it? So,
Yeah, no, and I think that these are good high points to make
mhm.
a pivot from. I mean, if this is
Yeah.
something that we deem is worth further exploration, then
Mhm.
we can start talking those details. All right, does anybody have any other questions regarding item 4? Okay, item 5.
Stormwater, I think we've talked about this, and I don't know, you would probably know better than us, what the impact of Woodland Hills storm is, how much is converted, just coming from people's yards. Wouldn't have come had you not had a city there where you are now. So That's to be determined, but we think we have an easy way of solving it because our stormwater is going to go down the same channel that your stormwater coming down the mountain is going to come down. That alluvial fan that channels all of your stormwater down along the southern edge of our property just before it goes up to your property, the hillside, right? And so it seemed like an elegant solution to work together on that as a part of what we're talking about and take care of that so that we didn't come back to you and say, you really need to retain this water and that water and this water, and you've got expenses and hassles that we could take care of in this kind of a package.
So Ted, I know we were doing a stormwater drainage study. Have we looked into how much of this, of our stormwater is impacting them, and what was our solution prior to them presenting this solution?
The answer is yes to both those questions. So we have been doing a stormwater management plan citywide, which includes that area. It's about 80% complete. We have a draft plan of it. We're working on some maps, including this Maple area. Now, in relation to how much of the overall Maple contributes, we don't have an answer for that yet. But the plan is essentially the same as what Larry's talking about. We come down somewhere at the roundabout or a little higher up, catch. This was a result 2 or 3 years ago. Some of it coming from that range. So the options are, work together and build some sort of information system there that would benefit both. Or we would have to do something, they would have to do something separate, somewhere along that path.
And Ted, let me also just ask, would this address the entire, because I know that we've got runoff issues with Salem and the county. Is this the primary one? Is this the only one? Or would this just be one hotspot among others?
So in relation to the county, this is their hotspot. So this was Larry was starting out the discussion and said about the roundabout, doing that, taking care of kind of drainage at the same time. The issue about two summers ago, springs ago, we had that huge runoff. There was water that came right out of this area. It goes down Woodland Hills Drive, hops the road, went farther down that was in the county. They ended up suing the county. So that's when we got the county water issue out. So that's kind of what we could mutually address at one time was because that's essentially Maple Canyon. I into that canyon there from our city, and then it comes out of Maple Canyon both. They address that issue now. In relation to Salem, there are a few other locations in the city where we released. That's other areas that we're addressing. Just that's one of the three.
And I know that in our conversations, we talked about, I mean, the study was 50, 60,000, right?
Yeah, 50,000 is what the study cost.
But to build out a solution was a significant expense.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands.
And so I think that it's worth mentioning to the council that this could potentially address that problem in a constructive way. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating. I don't want to sound like I'm an advocate, but I do think that it's important these considerations be made. So.
Well, I could advocate for it because otherwise we're coming to you and saying, solve this problem, solve that problem. We are offering to kind of do it. I think we can do it. I don't want to say cheaper than you can do it, but I think the scale of the project can absorb it better than your budget could absorb it. So it just seemed like
So you say that you would accommodate. So does that mean we would split the costs, or you guys would cover the costs of the drainage issue for that section? Do you know how that's going to play out?
Well, our offer here is that the drainage that comes onto our property from your property, that you would otherwise have to pay for handling it, we will pay for it. We will build the solution into because we have to handle our storm drain too.
Your
So
master plan.
It's somewhat efficient for us to do it at the same time we're handling our own stormwater. And that's why it just made sense for us to put this on the list of things that we could work on together.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that point? Okay, and item
Number
6,
six.
bringing us home.
Last item.
Yeah.
So water, we're working with Salem to figure out our water situation. we have enough water shares to do what we need to do as a golf course and a community. Kind of interesting, we were looking at that, weighing it as we were determining to go from a subdivision of a lot of homes with no golf course to a golf course community with half the homes that we originally were thinking, but we got a golf course. So now we have fewer homes that need water. That's good for the water usage, but we have a golf course that needs water. So that the net of that is we need more water than we would have had we just done homes. And so what we've done is we've tried we have a plan in place that's going to go forward. All of the homeowners in our project are going to be very limited in their irrigable amount of square footage. So we're going to limit them quite a bit.
So will they be having access to Salem's secondary water irrigation system, or will they be using culinary water?
That's a great question. We're right in the middle of that answer. We don't know it yet, but there's a lot of things that go into that. So our pond on the north end, for example, if we dig it a little deeper, it could double as PI irrigation downstream for the city. And we could pump it into our own PI system or the city's PI system. So we're kind of weighing everything out right now, which is important because Trey's going to start digging that pond in a week or something like that. A few weeks. I keep hearing a few weeks. So we're looking at that, but the problem is not the water shares, the water rights that we own. We own plenty. The problem is the flow of water. And so we're looking at the gallons per minute needed, and we're looking at the capacity of the well. And you folks have 40% of that well or that tank, right?
Well and tank, both.
Well and tank, yeah. So it affects everybody. And so we wanted to put it on here. If there's something we could do creatively with you as needed, and we don't know yet what our need is or if there's a need, but we're looking at it and we're thinking, gosh, there could be a challenge here. So let's make sure we have all of the pieces of the puzzle in front of us that we can put together. Now, I don't know what form this takes, by the way. Just raising it as an issue, and hoping that as we go forward, we can work together and figure out what is a win for you on water, what you need for water, be it, I don't know what you're looking at, a well, replacement of a pump. I understand you had a pump go out recently. So you were relying more on that 40% of that well in the tank. So we understand there are issues with water, and I guess we just want to include all the right players. That would have to be you as well as a next door neighbor. So we're hoping that there are some creative solutions that could work for everyone going forward.
Well, and Larry, just let me add, as you recall, when we first met, my purpose was to invite you back like the prodigal son who left the city of Woodland Hills to rejoin us. And I think that that would be something that I would encourage the council to consider as far as something that we could potentially, and I don't know the viability of it as far as Three Bridges is concerned, but if there would be a way that we could incorporate water rights into Three Bridges becoming part of Woodland Hills again, and us enjoying the benefit of that tax revenue. And if we could do it in a way that would be cheaper for your development, I think that that's something that we should also look to explore.
Well, you
Take
have been an
take a breath
advocate-
first.
You have
You
been
breathe-
an advocate of us coming back into the fold. All of that happened in '85. We're around that.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying. We had no knowledge of that separation. You have, of course, got the entitlements, the PID funding, gotten everything that we need for the project forward. Let me respond to your very kind offer, Mayor, with the following. If Salem City, for some reason, could not provide what we need to do a project, we would have two choices, right? We either walk away, lose all the money we've invested because we can't get the project off the ground, or we have to go through heroic and extreme measures and expenses to make something work, right? So I don't know that I could hold that conversation with you unless two things happen. Number one, Salem can't do what we need and we don't have a project. And two, you can do what we need, right? Then I think that the first people that would say, go to Woodland Hills would be the Salem people. Let's get the project in the area. It's good for everyone. So let's let's do it, rather than some other type of development happening that we don't have the same open space, that this one brings. And so, I guess that's what I would say.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I just think that it should be something that ought to be considered part of the conversation. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments about item 5?
I just have to say, I can hardly stand myself here. I 100% appreciate what the mayor just offered you. I have always felt bad losing that property to say, I shouldn't say Salem taking that property for whatever reasons back in the day. I don't think any of us were here, at least I don't know for sure us, that, when that occurred, but it's devastating to us not having you as real neighbors, in that sense. But so I just think that's a big mouthful, to even think about, but our city would really like to gain that someday, somewhere, somehow. But even though it's a difficult conversation.
Well, we are opening the trail system, by the way, so we're hoping you will enjoy the project. If nothing else, that it will be a place where with 5-6 restaurants, amenities, like consolation prize if
No, that's great. Okay, well, we appreciate your time. And so since we've got a lot of people here who I believe are not here to comment on the fireworks ordinance, but are here to comment on this, if you'll stick around, we'll move to the public comment portion of the meeting. And then if there is something that you would like to address, we'll give you an opportunity to do that. So take a seat, and if you'll
and we're
just,
happy to answer any questions you feel we should try to answer
okay,
next phase 2.
very good. Thank you. Okay.
So are we going to have public comment?
Yeah, I
now?
think so.
I think it would be best.
Yeah, Jody, I can do that, right?
And then we could still have another public comment right before.
It's what?
We can still have another public comment time right before council meeting, even
Right.
if we have this now.
We might need to replace the microphone or the batteries on that one Larry was talking with. It was cutting out pretty bad
Oh, okay.
towards the end there.
All right, yeah, well, we'll open it up for public comment. Similar to our regular public comment portion, I would ask, in consideration of the number of people that may wish to say something or have something addressed, please try to limit your remarks to around 2 minutes or less. So once we get this up and running, help yourself.
And the public doesn't have this in writing yet, right? This proposal.
No,
It's
like I
just
said,
They
really
just,
vague.
they just go by what they've heard.
yeah. And-
Okay.
And again, we just got that today. Okay. What was that? Yeah.
This was something we received. But there's basically 3 things. There's basically 4 things. The roundabout upgrade and access, the salt shed upgrade and replacement, the residential density approval on land in Woodland Hills, which is the 11 acres that they bought from Knott's, transient tax share, the stormwater runoff from Woodland Hills, and water capacity for 3 bridges. Those 6 items are what was addressed.
Okay, going once.
Come up and say
Anybody,
something.
anybody, have people stand?
Yes.
Yeah, because we've got people online. Sorry.
So I just have a few questions because I missed a little bit of the meeting, so that's probably my fault too. But you said we're talking about the roundabout and selling that property off, but only for what Brian had said, equal for equal, right?
For the salt shed.
For the salt shed. So the roundabout, what was that discussion? I'm sorry. I missed that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's essentially what you just described. I mean, the offer is that they would purchase for, well, actually, that was the
Because
salt
that
shed.
includes
So-
the mailboxes, the roundabout.
Yeah, it would
So that-
require
Right.
moving the mailboxes.
So they would pay to replace those mailboxes cost us a fortune.
Yeah, and the mailboxes would, of necessity, what they've offered as
And
well,
there
would
would
be
be no-
upgraded to account for all the residents.
And there
because-
would be no decision made on this until we had a place to replace them all with, right? Some place to go with it.
Correct.
Yeah, this is very high level stuff. This is just a crossroads to assess whether this is a non-starter or if this is something that we feel that, okay, conceptually, this seems to make sense, so we'll take it to the next step.
Did we
Yeah,
talk about dark skies? Did I miss that? Did
No.
we talk
Dark
about
skies
dark
did not.
No,
sky?
it's
That
not
did
part of
not
it.
come up?
It's in their development
It's in their
agreement.
development.
So,
Okay.
so that's with them in Salem.
But just
and
so
that's
you
in
know,
their
our
development.
mailboxes right now are insufficient. Anyone that moves in right now doesn't even get a mailbox. We ran out of mailboxes a long time ago, so we have to do something
But we
about
do
that
have the
anyway.
option with the postal service to have boxes on each street. That's still an option for us. Mhm.
okay, so
They told
we're
me
getting
it
some
was, but-
disagreement on
And they have
that.
to be cleared in the winter.
So
So,
did you have a microphone back there?
so we have to do something about the mailboxes going forward.
Because when I asked,
actually got hold of the postmaster today,
okay,
and he said that to put them on corner is not an option. Lower portion, you might be able to do it, but they don't want to come up to the city in winter and to snowplow. Risk. We will take them out, and the risk, they have to get in behind each one of them in order to put the mail in, and so it's just not. We could put some here at the city center if we wanted to and kind of divide up the community. But we have to guarantee that they would have access from the roundabout currently.
It's easy enough.
yeah.
And I guess you should probably state your name, right, for the record. I mean,
Sorry, Sherry Lamborn.
yeah, no, I know.
That was.
Everyone knows who you are, but anyone who comes up to the microphone, I think that, just so we have a record of it.
Okay, and then so then the 11 acres, I'm a little unclear on, and I was here for that, but I'm still kind of unclear on that. He's proposing they put homes on that acreage, and he wants to change the zoning so that you can have a higher density homes. Is that what I'm
Yeah.
understanding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Smaller lots.
To have
Smaller lots, yeah.
5 to 6 units per acre, where our current is basically one per acre, 1 unit per acre, some more. But that's kind of. the
Would that be
basics.
limited to just his 11 acres, or would you
Yes.
guys?
It would just be that
Just
spot.
it'd be
Good.
that area.
It'd be a
So
development
like a
agreement
development,
with them.
okay.
Yep.
All right, and I probably had other questions, but I can't think of them right now. 'cause
Well, if
I
they
had
come to
them
you,
when
you
they
can come back
came.
up. Yeah, no, that's fine.
So,
This isn't the end, though. There'll be a lot more discussions.
yeah, okay, that was one of my questions too. This is just like a starting point, right?
Yes.
And I'm not for or against any of this stuff. I'm for them paying for the water runoff.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I am for that. But anyways, I just wanted to clarify in my brain.
Okay, well, hopefully that got clarified, and
Okay, thank you.
thanks for your comment. Okay, anybody else? Mark, yeah, you wanted to say something early.
Mark Solvine. Yes, my first question was already addressed. You told me to put my hand back down.
I don't think I put it that way.
I took it. But one of the, I mean, there's probably more challenges than any of us know about, even the people that have been doing this for the last 5 years. But one big one I'm seeing is the water situation. And I know that was addressed here. You know, we're talking about ponds, we're talking about wells. But do we have any idea of what capacity is? I've been beating this drum for several years about how much water do we actually have. I finally decided I'll be gone long before we run out of water, so I stopped worrying about it. But there are going to be people here after I'm gone that, is there going to be enough water? Do we have assurances that we start drilling wells that 20 years from now there will be enough water here? And I think that's something as we start looking at water right transfers, that really needs to be addressed.
I agree. Thank you.
So I can make a comment to that. So I'm on, and I actually just met with the Mount Nebo Water Association on Monday or yesterday. And we are modeling, and we're actually the whole state is starting to take after what is being modeled here in Mount Nebo Water Association area. And they're monitoring and modeling all of this. It's actually going to go to a monthly, it's actually going to put more on TED because they're going to go to a monthly draw reporting rather than annual like we're doing right now. And they're watching it on a monthly basis and then throughout the water year. So they're looking at groundwater and surface water as well. And they'll be making recommendations, non-binding, for cities that have the capability of using surface water and things like that. So they're going to be real-time watching our aquifers, everything in the Mount Nebo area. And now the state is starting to do it as they found problems in Cedar City and things like that. There's been a lot of push towards this, and they looked at what Mount Nebo's doing and said, this is actually fantastic. So we've got, I can't remember how the fantastic group that has actually put all this together. I'm sure Ted's been working with all the other public works directors on this as well. And they're doing a fantastic job of monitoring that groundwater, watching our water years, and doing it over time as we start gathering this. So there is proactive work being done, and we've actually invested a lot into putting this program together. So that is being looked at. I can't say that there's enough right now because we don't have that data, but they'll be finished modeling here shortly. Actually, the project's almost done, and then they're going to start the actual monitoring after the model. So,
Thank you. Thanks, Brian. Okay. Well, yeah, Sherry. Oh, Sterling. Sorry.
No, Sterling can go.
Well, Sherry. I don't know who had your hand up first.
The other
Sherry.
Sherry.
Come on up.
Sherry Berger.
Yeah, I think that you were there first, Sherry. We'll get to you though, Sterling.
Sherry Berger. My comments, I guess, basically are all centered around the roundabout and the mailboxes. I'm looking at the mailboxes on the north side, I guess originally package drops, whatever, underneath the mailboxes. And it looks to me like two of those boxes could accommodate 4 residential size boxes. So I don't know how many mailboxes we're short, but I don't think we're really short like we think we are to say let's move the boxes, because I think it can be altered. So all the citizens have a mailbox. The other thing, I remember years ago, I think, and I don't know what the county's plan is, but wasn't there talk of widening Woodland Hills Drive?
Not for a while.
Well, I know, but how much does the county have eminent domain onto our portion?
I don't want to speak out of turn, but I am part of MAG, and they do a lot of the transportation sort of horizon planning. Woodland Hills Drive, at least up higher, it's not even on the radar. So I don't know what that would look like in terms of its execution. But
If Three Bridges and on the first arterial going, or the second one going east, like that would take us into the mailboxes, is that how the hotel is going to access their property? And if so, are there going to be big signs and lights put up saying go this way and don't go up Woodland Hills Drive?
okay, and then do you have any other questions? Because when you're done with your questions, I'll turn it over to Three Bridges representatives and they can answer that.
That's just my comments regarding the roundabout.
Okay, I just tried to maximize efficiency, so thank you. Thanks, Sherry. All right, Larry, do you want to address that entrance, or one of you?
Do you want to talk about Sherry? I can.
So currently, signage is shown, well, I wish I could point
to a, I can't read that number, but to the east of where the bridge is currently shown. So the signage at the entrance, a little bit,
Number one.
that one right there, that's where the signage is shown, and that is a stone monument. So no big lights or things like that that are directing. But I think the bridge would be the showpiece that would invite people to come to Three Bridges, mainly. But
That's the main bridge right there.
Larry, you'll have to, we got people online, thanks.
That is the main bridge. Money for the bridges is sitting in that bridge roundabout. So that people would start coming and they'd be able to look to their left and see that bridge. Now that bridge will probably be downlights. It would be dark sky, be something to let people see the architecture of stone or as the surface, the skin of that. But there would be no signs on Woodland Hills. There would be no signs on 1280. Signs are back from the roads and would not be loud. So.
And I think a lot of people nowadays are using, Google Maps or, Apple Maps that's directing most people's traffic anyway. So especially in unknown
Especially
areas.
up here. Up this way.
So
Okay,
is the
thank you.
answer to that question, yes, they're gonna come through the roundabout and go over the bridge?
Well, that's what they would like to do.
102.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Sterling?
My name is Sterling Peterson. Good evening, Council. Thank you for taking the time to hear my comments. When I decided to move up here to Woodland Hills with my family, I luckily did not show up and say, wow, look how cheap the property taxes are. Let's move to Woodland Hills, right? I think the reason a lot of us decided to come to Woodland Hills because Woodland Hills has a mountainside charm. The community has been this way since it started. I know everybody wants more dollars starting first with the city, right? I think the idea of finding tax dollars is very appealing. My request of the council tonight is to please consider keeping the charm of the city over chasing the dollars today. Every single one of us, right now, we're making decisions that will impact the land that will be here long after all of us are gone. And I think it'd be really sad to sell away the mountainside charm that our community has in pursuit of some dollars. Earl mentioned this when we lost the land to Salem, right? We make decisions that have really big impacts, so I hate to sell that away.
Thank you. Okay, well, if there's no other comments here, yep, come on up.
My first concern is really.
We just state your name. I mean, we know who you are, but
Jill Johnson.
thanks.
I live on Maple Drive. I am concerned about the water and getting ready. Water. We live in the desert.
But it's an indication of.
So a real concern, I'm glad that we're looking at actual data through modeling with that information. If we do decide to put it in our best. I mean,
Ironically, it's flooding in Orem right now from the rain.
which is a crazy thing, but it's just a.
Temporary, yeah.
It's just not the trend.
But I appreciate the constructive comment. I think that is a meaningful thing to consider, so.
Yeah, so something that we can think about. I am concerned about the trees dying at the mailbox right now. Have we made a decision not to water those? Is that?
That is an unrelated issue. Yeah, it is. It has nothing to do with this. But you can hold us accountable for that, but it's not relating to Three Bridges.
Can you tell me?
Well, Ted can.
I think it's just the nature, but it's getting water at the same time. In fact, we're getting water a little better this year. The truth is we had a battle box
actually probably need more water this year. So I think we just got to put water here. My lawn's the same way it's supposed to. We kicked up the water there a little bit more. Sent our fire trucks down to the water treatment station. So.
I've seen the water on.
It's just a bug. I think we got a bug. What was happening outside?
And then we contacted,
Yeah, we have. We've got a landscape contract.
you don't.
But we
have to-
can do
you
that.
don't
I
have
mean,
to
yeah.
pay- You don't have to pay the extension. Rather than-
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Thank you.
One question that I have for the developer is, when construction, we're hearing stuff really early in the morning till really late at night, 7 days a week. And it's just really loud. I understand the day has to be construction, but, before 6 a.m. and after 10 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Okay, and Jill, did you have any other questions that you want for the developer? Because I just want to, again, if we
Yeah.
can consolidate those, okay.
No, that's
So,
all.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
You guys want to address that?
Thank you, Jill. So we will look into that. My understanding is that we were starting work after 7, and so that it's at 6 a.m. Contractors about that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jill.
What time is it?
As far as time at night, I don't know that off the top of my head.
It's
So,
up. It's up.
later than 10 p.m. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it
that's
could be somebody else.
Our contractors should be starting at 7. They should be finishing about 5. Most of them don't want to work past 5, but pretty ambitious people working after 10.
We can see the lights on the road from my house. So
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. I
Yeah, you got a different problem.
I'm down there golfing.
All right. Oh, it came to you.
Sorry.
That's
Well, the
okay.
land that they're wanting to purchase where the salt shed and the mailbox and all that is, there isn't, if I'm remembering correctly, isn't there a old well or something, storage, some sort on there that's not in use and that,
Very small.
is there a way to consider that in water and whatnot? I don't know, but that is my question.
Thank you.
We actually have 2 wells down there around the salt shed. They're both very small wells. They were drilled in part when this community was first starting to develop. We've actually looked into several years ago redeveloping those wells, but the cost to redevelop a well like that is nearly the cost of drilling a new well, and we can get very little water out of them. And we'd have to pump it all the way to the top of the city, which is more money. So it's very inefficient to be able to redevelop those wells. They haven't been used for years, and probably ones we will never use and likely abandon at some point.
They purchased that property.
What I hear you saying, Ted, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is those wells are not feasible to rehabilitate and resurrect. And for the same reasons, we would not do it. You drill a new well. And we're talking to Salem about where to do that as a part of our water management plan.
Okay,
Yeah, but-
last chance here, and then we'll go online. All right, well, thank you for the comments here. Anybody joining us online have any questions or comments they'd care to make? All right, well, hearing none, we will move on to the next portion of our meeting. Thanks again to Three Bridges for coming and making your presentation, and thanks to members of the community for coming and having yourselves heard. So,
And again,
I mean,
if we
you're
have
obviously
other
welcome to stay for the
questions-
rest, but.
If we have other questions that come up between now and in the next little while, we can just call you direct.
Personally, Larry, I like seeing you often like you're doing, so we like the visits, so thank you.
I thought it was just my wife.
She's just saying that.
We we like
No, we want to make
seeing
sure-
you.
Yeah, thank you. We want to make sure we're keeping you all in the loop. And we'll start by getting you the next version of the plan that you don't have right
Okay.
That would be great.
All right. Well, thank you. Okay, item 2, discussion regarding proposed ordinance amending city code 543 relating to fireworks. Wayne, is that,
Let's pass this bad
Is
boy.
it Jody?
As we got looking at our fireworks ordinance. Thank you.
oh, yeah, order, please.
Yeah, if you want to.
We realized that an error had been made in a statute site in it. And it was even in our old ordinance that carried forward to our codification. So it had to do with spotlighting coyotes and wolves and things rather than relating to the fireworks. So what this change is just a correction to our current ordinance to cite the proper ordinance that is relative to fireworks. So that's all that's doing. It's not changing it. It's just correcting an error in the ordinance site that the state had there. So that's what that is.
Okay, thanks.
Any
Wayne.
questions on that?
This is the one that stays and we have to do the other one every year, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I was thinking the same thing.
All right.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you. Item 3, large purchase requests. Ted, I believe that's you. Always got your hand out.
That's probably good for this one. The only thing right now I wanted to bring to just the council is that ongoing discussion about radios for our fire emergency service. So, and we appreciate the tools we've been getting. So we've been able to replace all of our apparatus radios. As I've explained before, dispatch is updating their radio system. About the first November, all our radios are no longer going to work with dispatch. So we have to replace these radios. We have been in the process of doing that over the year. We have replaced almost all of our apparatus vehicles with the new radios. We've replaced 4 handhelds with new radios. Got 8 more to go of handhelds that we need to replace. And so looking at purchasing 4 more, trying to spend this over time. So roughly about $15,000. It's $15,180. Just ordered those for about 4 months ago. We're still waiting for them. They take 6 months to get these radios. So likely if we order in the next week, what we've got, but keep out replacing. So large purchase about just around 15,000. Replace 4 more of the radios.
And maybe even just for the upper end, what would you say, just so in a vote, we can make sure there's enough allocated?
Probably, I mean,
So we're wanting 4 now and then 4 maybe the next budget cycle?
We already.
Next budget cycle, seeing how our budget does after we get these 4.
Okay.
After we get these 4, kind of reevaluate.
We make a deal if you save the trees in the roundabout, you get your radios.
I've been part grass in the trees. I get up there every day and pet them and water them.
We have a bog in the
You
park
sang
too
them,
that's
yeah.
got to be cleaned up.
We got a bog.
Yep, I saw both because I was up there on Friday.
Yeah, when I send her, whenever we train, that's where we go.
Spray the dry spots.
So
Yeah,
is
when I
this
have to empty a
15?
truck, I go up there and that's what I do is I spray the
Brown.
brown.
This year's been a better luck year. We just have
It's just been so
Yeah,
hot and so
dry.
dry for so long.
Is this 15 in your current budget? Or is this in X? Okay, so this is just an authorization process. Perfect.
Radios not working.
Perfect. Okay.
Seems it.
How
Okay.
often do they change radios?
This is the first time in several years. They updated their radio system. And
Mhm.
In 20 years, I remember 3 times and they were all painful.
Right, well, I'm just thinking as we look forward, I mean,
Yeah.
you're trying to upgrade and inventory all of our assets, and if we're going to be replacing these if you've done it 3 times in 20 years, so every 7 years, we should be maybe budgeting for that type of equipment change.
we started on these ones.
Mm-hmm.
This was
All right. Thanks, Ted. Oh, wait. You're first up on
You're
staff
next.
reports regarding public works and fire.
yeah. We're
Not enough to keep the trees alive.
Yeah. We have to cut back some now. So just so you're aware, the West Loper Road project, soon getting underway on that. We've got the contractor on board. We've got all his contract signed, the insurance documents, and the bonds all in place. So just gonna hold a meeting. We'll get that one underway.
Define soon.
Well, that's tough because we don't really give the contractor a start time. We just tell them when they have to be done. And they have to be done by the so it kind of is based on what they need, when they need to start.
So someone today delivered pipe onto that.
That's what
Is that going up the road? Okay.
So West Loper's coming along. The well improvement project went out to bid 2 days ago. We have the end of last week. We're having a meeting tomorrow, a pre-bid meeting. Any contractors interested? We had, as of last report today, we had 15 people download. So that one will open bids. I think about a week.
And is that, what process is that? Is that a hydro upgrade, electrical upgrade, a little of both?
Yes. So I guess the quick answer is the well's been under construction. It's been working. Water City, but it's not been completed and it's been under construction. So this is we just decided to bring in an engineering company, engineer everything that needs to be complete, put it out to bid. We've been working on saving budget for it for years. And so we've got enough budget to cover it. And this will just get everything done. Because right now we don't have like emergency backup generator that's functional. So this will get a working backup generator up there. It upgrades the electrical. It will increase and pump size also, so we can get more capacity out of the well. Upgrade our electrical, finish some stuff in the building that needed to be done. Upgrade our chlorine room, some meters that we need installed, and possibly build us a little bit back. So keep open.
So this bid currently is for the engineering side.
No, this is for the construction side. Engineering's done.
Engineering's done. Okay. So are we bidding out multiple, I guess, different subs?
We
Single entity doing the water side and the generator side and the electrical side. And
So we bid out for a general. I'm sure they're going to have subs. They'll have electrical, whoever they need to sub it. So it'll be one contractor we'll work with, and he'll have subs.
And I know Alan and Mark have both been involved in this, and we just want to appreciate their service because
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
they've
thanks.
been very helpful.
We want to say publicly, thanks, Alan, for your contacts and us being able to get the well up and running again so soon.
You saved us days by being
Yeah.
wire.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, we're glad you're both here. Okay, great.
Do you think we need to rescue Larry out there? Or do you think he's okay?
He's a big
loves
boy.
this. He loves it.
You see who stayed in here, the one he called boss.
He's safe with the council.
nobody's ever said that before.
Anything else, Ted? Does that cover public works and fire?
Yeah.
Okay.
Working on getting a pavement project ready for spring. fire, I don't think. Wildlife crew gets out.
The truck's working?
They're out on foot.
Off and on.
Flintstone stuff.
Where are they at?
They are right, they just got back, so that fire that was up in Randolph,
Mhm.
they were up there on the initial attack for a while on that fire. They got back Sunday night from that fire, right now they're stationed at, it's called Lone Peak, which is a fire service in Draper. They're stationed right there
Okay.
as initial attack out.
One thing fire-wise, we have a city sign that's really beautiful. It's between kind of the Stake Center and the church. It's on the right if you're headed towards, the church.
Mhm.
And it's extremely faded, and it's got a smiley face where it should say extreme fire danger. Have you seen that one?
Probably,
Would-
yeah. I don't-
We just need to, somebody just needs to flip it to
Extreme.
not
Are
happy.
you talking on 11200?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sign of action.
Remove
We'll
or
do that, right, because
replace.
we've got 3 other signs around the city that tell the extreme fire danger or high or whatever. As you enter the city at 3 different locations. That one, I thought about just updating it a little bit.
I just wonder if it,
Because
if it
it's,
can
because
flip.
it's on the, everything's good, not
Yeah,
everything's.
it just looks like
It needs
everything's
updated.
good.
We're just trying to get people smiling when they drive by.
Yeah, what do you got
Perfect,
against
okay.
smiling, Ben?
Nothing. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Ted. All right, Wayne, can you give us an update on zoning enforcement and planning commission?
Several months ago, we brought an ordinance to you all having to do short-term rentals. And it asked to be tabled, which it is. We don't plan on doing anything more with it, unless you direct. We received a couple of comments that and so it's up to you what you want to do. We're not going to take any more time. So,
I have a comment on that. So, I own one in Idaho and there's a lot of issues in my little neighborhood on my second home. And so I actually am against it here. But in Idaho, the Idaho Supreme Court actually just made it so that HOAs and neighborhoods are not allowed and cities are not allowed to ban them anymore, which is really interesting. And I don't think Utah's gotten to that, but I'm saying that there may come a point where we don't have a choice.
They're
That's-
actually looking opposite because they want more home ownership. And we're getting inundated with so many short-term rentals in Utah that that's part of the housing shortage. So they're actually looking at more restrictions.
Okay, I'm just saying it's interesting because we have someone in the neighborhood because where I'm at, it's actually against the CCNRs because there's not a city, right? But we have CCNRs and it's actually against the CCNRs to be able to rent, but probably 60% of the cabins in the neighborhood are rentals. And so we've got someone that's threatening to sue and do all these things, but the Idaho Supreme Court has said that you can't ban them now. So I just think it's interesting and there may come a point where we don't have a choice is what my point is of that.
They're legal in Woodland Hills right now.
yes and no. Our zoning is such that single-family residences,
Correct.
technically, that does not allow another family separate from yours to live in that home. Now, so there.
But our zoning isn't. Our zoning has ADUs and detached ADUs, which now allows for second.
That's acceptable according to state law.
Mhm.
to do that. So it's a little iffy. It's kind of in a gray area, but we don't have really anything to stand on if somebody wants to do a rental in our city right now. We don't have an ordinance specifically against it.
Correct.
So that's the way it is. We know that it's going on a little bit here and there. And it just depends on if we as a city, you all want to make a change in that, have some criteria, go by, or leave it as it is.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk at the state around this because they want us to be able to rent to people who need housing, right? We have a shortage of housing. So they want us to be able to rent, but don't want us to be forced to rent. And so there's this thought that's going back and forth on that. One of the main issues actually is parking, because if there's not enough parking space, then that's a problem with rentals. Now, we require off-street parking in Woodland Hills. Other cities almost require street parking. And so they're going back and forth on what's the size of parking. They're trying to make it smaller so that you can accommodate more vehicles on the property. And so there's a lot of talk going on what might come out of this next legislative session with regards to rentals and how that impacts, if it's owner occupied, if it's not owner occupied. They're finding that there are people who are having Airbnb type rentals that were approved by the city as just a residential neighborhood, because we don't know up front when we approve something what the intent of that property is. We only know that we're authorizing homes. And so as that happens, there are neighborhoods now that are almost all Airbnbs, and some 2 or 3 families might move in hoping for this big, nice neighborhood to find out it's only all the other. And so school districts also make their plans based on, these are residential homes. We just built this school and there's only 3 families. So there's a lot of, trickle down on what that means. In our city, we might not have the same issues, but it could potentially end up being issues if everybody just said, here we are, we're renting. And then that could have some detriment.
It pits homeowners against each other.
Mhm.
The people that don't rent absolutely hate the people that do rent. And you lose a sense of community. It really affects the neighborhood. And I'm the problem, right? I'm part of the problem. But we do hope to retire there. So that's why we hang on to it. We just rent it because that's the only way we can afford it. But we're the problem. And I see it, and it's interesting to see it because it's kind of a microcosm, right? Like it's there's 45 homes. It's just not very big, right? But I do get to see how it affects the neighborhood. And so for Woodland Hills, I'm very against it.
One of the letters we received from a resident addressed that specific topic. It would change the nature of the city.
Yeah. I've been called a lot of, rule breaker, law breaker, and it's like, you just are out to make a quick buck. And it's like, no, I'm trying to hang on to it until we're ready to retire. Then we can live there for a minute. So
Anyway, I just wanted to make you aware. The second item is on zoning enforcement. There's a single page attachment to your packet having to do with amending our city code, part 10.4.2, by adding a section having to do with certificates of non-compliance. We don't have anything in our ordinances now that address that.
we really don't,
We don't.
because I've suggested that before.
We've used it, but we've never, it's not in our ordinance. We used it one time, as far as I know, as long as I to issue a certificate of non-compliance. List areas such as those that are within your packet to use. Our attorney is recommending it, or sanctioning it. We want to use that as an avenue. So you can read it. Hope you may have an opportunity to read it today, to look at it. I think it's a benefit to have it.
So
It
what
kind of
action
puts
are you
people on
asking
notice.
us to take on this? What action, it's already in here, so you're just wanting us to amend the code to
Include this.
to
It's not,
include this?
we don't
Oh,
have it now.
They're
Okay.
adding this.
We're-
I thought we had it too. Yeah, not tonight, I know. But I did think that we already had this. So you're just saying that we didn't, and now this is to add it to, and we will have it on next month's agenda?
Correct.
Okay,
Next time.
For approval.
next
We're going
week,
to-
next time.
Commission is going to have a public hearing on this next week, so we'll get any input from
good.
the public, and then we'll come back after.
I think we really need this because what do we always hear? That we never enforce anything and that our ordinances don't have any teeth. So here's some teeth.
Yeah. And this is kind of a last resort, you know, we've
Yes,
and
absolutely.
done everything. And so we'd issue one of these against the
I
property.
got a couple properties in my neighborhood that could use one of these.
So with this then of noncompliance and as was said, that gives it teeth, so is there what would those teeth be? Is it just that they get this letter, or do they actually get a fine?
No,
Do
it's
they
a
get-
lien on your property, Terry.
It's an actual lien.
We would record
Okay.
it with the county.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be considered a lien. It
It's
would
a
just
notice
be-
of noncompliance, and you can't get a loan or you can't sell your property until the title company or whoever goes and reaches out to the city and says, hey, you've recorded this on this property, what's going on?
So the lenders will inquire.
Oh, absolutely. Everything stops.
Yeah.
It's like a
Okay.
Liz Pendens kind of
Because it's
thing.
like if somebody finished their basement and they never got a permit and maybe their electrical's shady, the city can go, Provo uses them all the time. And so they can go in and put a certificate of noncompliance on there. A lot of times it's when they make these little apartments, but they don't get permits for them and the
Mhm.
city finds out. And so they put that and they're like, you have to go through the process, we have to inspect it and you have to fix whatever we say you have to fix before we'll remove it. So,
Okay, that's teeth enough for me.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, those teeth bite.
and it's a last resort. It's after you've worked with the homeowner and tried to do everything else you can possibly do, then you go to this.
And let me just say that Wayne is doing an exceptional job. I mean, in putting teeth
Mhm.
into a lot of our code enforcement.
I love it.
But taking not a heavy-handed approach, but
Right.
let us.
I keep trying to, but I keep. So just want to give you a heads up.
Just don't come back to my house, okay, Wayne?
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne.
I don't know, a lien on your house could keep you here longer.
Yeah.
Could be good. No running off to Idaho.
Okay.
I don't know who would want to
um,
do that, though.
Item 5A, personnel. I
How I feel about my Idaho property too.
I think that
The
things are
fluids.
going really well in the city. We're looking at some potential new staffing, but it's something that it's beautiful. I don't have to do much of anything. It's a well-oiled machine that just basically takes care of itself. So
Well, to be fair,
Big thanks.
before there was things going on that like quadrupled the workload, and we don't have that at the moment,
A lot of
right?
work
So
put in to
much.
get it to this place.
So what new staffing are we looking at?
I'd actually rather not talk about it just yet. So
Okay.
we'll talk about it in upcoming meetings, but I don't want to.
Positions we
Get ahead
never
of-
replaced, right?
Yeah, no, it's not replacing anybody. It's
No,
just
no,
supplement-
positions we've never replaced.
Oh.
People that left and we never.
Yeah,
filled
I mean, to
those
some
positions.
extent, it's just, there's a need in certain departments, and so we're gonna look to fill those needs.
Okay.
Me. Councilmember Hilliard.
So emergency management, my phone has been dinging off the hook while we've been on this call. Apparently there's reports of like ping pong sized hailstorms that are supposed to be falling just north of us.
No kidding.
Um,
And headed this way?
I do not believe it's headed this way.
If it is, I'm moving my-
I'm really hoping it doesn't head this way, but they've actually, they're looking less ping pong ball-ish and more like large jelly beans.
The
you
freeways
know,
flooded,
kinda-
I'm getting videos.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I've gotten
Lots
to.
of flooding, but the reason I bring it up is more to just know that, there's a highly integrated system of emergency managers across the county.
Great.
We talk probably too much. In our last meeting, we also discussed, and I already reported this in staff meeting, but I'll give it to the council here as well. A member of, what's the power company? Not SCSD, the other one. Rocky Mountain.
Rocky Mountain.
Rocky Mountain was there talking about their new policy. Their new policy that if there is a fire, and we got some distances today, but if there's a fire that potentially could cause damage to a fire line or an electrical line, that they will abandon that line from an electronic standpoint to make sure they're not starting any other fires. And this
Yeah.
is due to litigation. That distance is 10 miles. So if fire is within 10 miles, then they're just going to abandon the
shut off.
line. That way it doesn't burn and then obviously cause more
I wonder if
fires.
That happens.
Now, he did talk about,
Yeah,
Yes.
de-energize.
Turn our
Thank you.
power off.
that was the
Turn the
correct word
power
I
off.
could not find. Thank you, Mark. They're not going to cut anything or, it'll just be, de-energizing it. Now, we did hear, and Alan, you guys can correct me if I say something wrong here, but he did say, or at least alluded to the fact that our valley is supplied by multiple different avenues in. So that if they de-energize one supply line, that doesn't mean we're out of electricity. We may have some brownouts here and there, but for the most part, we will still be fine.
And
the
I
reason-
actually brought that up at SESD meeting this morning.
Perfect.
And they said that, because we were a part of the SUVPS infrastructure, and they said there are 4 lines in. Now, it's, because it doesn't sound like it's ideally redundant, though, because it sounded like that if like the Spanish Fork line, if that goes out, it's lights out. So that's like a main artery. But they were telling me that if generally speaking, in not peak load hours, if we had 3 operating, there should be sufficient capacity that things would still go, as long as it's not
Perfect.
that Spanish Fork line.
Okay, hopefully there's no fires in the Spanish Fork Canyon.
Yeah.
But that is something to just be aware. And the reason I bring it up is, like the mayor just said, we get our electricity from the Rocky Mountain lines, so we're reliable to them or dependent on them. So that's it from me.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Councilmember Hutchings.
Okay, so we have not met with PTR or Planning Commission. Those were canceled last month. Again, we overrode PTRs with council meeting. So that's why we didn't meet. Public Works, we met last week. Again, Ted's talked about that. Broad Hollow project at the time was 96.8% complete design. Sounds like we're 100% now. We might have breached that. There was some questions that were brought up about fuel tanks that are sitting in the basement up at the well. And I talked to Ted a little bit about that today as we were looking at the tanks downstairs. And so that's being addressed. There possibly some changes. Right now they're doing a design and that goes one route, but that might change. But that'll be looked at. We want to get the bid out so that we get started. And again, there's some discussions with Salem on the Maple Canyon well, the 40%. That's still super preliminary. Nothing's going to happen until we get the new pump online. So that's really preliminary discussions with our 40% over there, just to make sure everybody's aware that not everybody was aware in our meeting. We own 40% of that well. We own 40% of the tank. We own, we pay 40% of the water or of the costs of running that well. Up until, when our pump went down, we hardly used that well. We pay 40% of electricity, 40% of the repairs. There's a big possibility of a big thing coming up on that. That will be responsible for 40% of that. So there's some options that Ted is in discussions with. Really not super high level kind of things. Obviously, Ted's not going to run the city out of water. He's making sure of that. Maybe right before he retires. Forced retirement. But there
Hey,
are
Brian.
some discussions. And then the West.
Brian.
Yes.
Hey, sorry. It's not like we're getting 40% of the entire electric bill, because they do meter that water, Ted, if I remember right. We're getting 40% of the portion that we use.
No.
If the electricity bill is $1,000 and we
And
use
that's
X
what I
on a
thought
gallon,
too, Chris. But we actually do pay, they send us the bills. We actually do pay 40% of the electric bill every month, regardless whether we use the water or not.
That's a bad deal.
so why are we metering it?
So they meter the water we use to determine how much we're using so that we're not of the actual. That well pumps about 13.
I can't hear anybody talking. I mean, I can barely hear somebody talking there. Ted, I think that microphone you got is just about dead.
Boy, these batteries run out quickly, don't they?
Yeah, Christian, you brought up a great point because that's what I thought initially too, that we were just paying 40% of the water we use. But it actually is 40% of the cost every month. They just basically take the power bill and multiply it by 40% and send us that share of it. They do send how much water we use. And then also if there's any upgrades, we've paid 40% of the cost to upgrade the well over the
I
years.
looked at
Where you
when
actually-
I paid the bills 5, 6 years ago, there was that spreadsheet that they would attach to the back of their bill. So we can take this offline, but I probably should review the agreement and review their latest bills just to make sure it's in line with the agreement.
Yeah.
That's not what I remember for the 20 years we've been doing it.
And I haven't read the agreement, but that's what they were telling me, that was part of the
Okay.
agreement. Was 40%.
All right. Sorry. I'll
So I
take
had
it
Lori
offline
go
and look
back
at
and
that.
actually get all the gallons we've used over the last 2 years and all the bills we paid over the last 2 years. I mean, anyway, we can talk about, Chris, there's a little bit longer story to that, but it's been in discussions for the last few months with Salem to figure out how we get better benefit out of this, or,
And
but
also, Ted,
there's the intangibles too, because every time we use
Yeah.
that well, it's when I get calls about complaints of
I
water.
mean, we use it, if I remember from the meeting, we still use it about twice a week. In the summer, we've been pulling water for 3 or 4 hours twice a week in the mornings. So it's not just when the pump has gone out that we've been pulling water, right?
Generally, yes. And it depends on the year. Like I've been looking at our tractor use. I had Lori pull out all our use over the last couple of years. It's actually been just recently, since probably about last August, that we've been really pulling water from that well. Prior to that, there was just zeros for a lot of months. We weren't pulling hardly any for the last few years. Now the last probably 7-8 months, we've been pulling water. And yes, we do. For some reason this summer, we're probably using a little more water than we have in the past. And about twice a week, sometimes once a week, depending on the week, those boosters will kick on and pump water out of Maple Canyon to help support our well for a few hours, usually on Monday morning. For some reason, Monday's the worst. But I've been trying to, last year we used a little more water, and this year we've used a lot more water because of our well going down. And that helps balance out that 40% cost, bring the cost of the per gallon of water down if we use more of the well. The downside is that's when I get most of the phone calls about smelly water and milky waters when we start using that well. So right now we're completely on our well, except for when we have to supplement it. And then I try and blend the water. But yeah,
It's probably
water's a
January
fun game.
before we really can make any real decision when that well project gets done.
Yeah, we're going to upgrade our well first and then decide how we continue to talk about the Maple Canyon well. And these have been just every couple of months. I have a discussion with Salem about, are there options with our 40% and how do we get the most benefit from that well, get the most bang for our buck, so to speak, and just ongoing discussions we've been having till we can reach a point of some sort of resolution.
Thanks, Ted.
Yep, and like Ted had said, we have an end date for Loafer of November 15th, not the West Loafer project. So don't necessarily have that start date, but just. you
I
can
just
give an end
asked
date.
because I'd like to maybe put something in the next newsletter,
Yeah.
just a little bit like, so I'll just reach out to Ted directly and get a
Yeah.
little bit of info, just so we have a little blurb to let people know it's happening and kind of the timeline.
Okay. There was some discussion on our sewage, actually us taking over repairs on our sewer lines. One of the things I believe was recommended and I believe the whole committee kind of agreed on was we could probably look at taking a mile per year and doing camera surveys on a mile of piping every year and then just rotate. So we've got 7 miles, Ted? 5 miles, so it'll be every 5 years each pipe would get inspected. It's fairly expensive to do the cameras. So that was one of the ones that was brought up and everybody thought that was
Great.
That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kinnison.
As a person concerned about public safety, happy to report the fire department and our EMS team. I give them a grade of A+ for the last month and a half that I even benefited that our family did. So they are doing a great job. I want you all to know they took 20 calls in the last 45 days. So crews have been a little busier. And we're showing up, you know, when the patient is off, so I'm pretty proud of that. On a different topic, the residents have missed our siren testing. We've all seen that happening. When we lost our sirens, that was due to a registered letter we got from dispatch, and they said, come down here and get all your hardware back. We can't do it anymore. So we did do that. I thought it was going to be at least a year, maybe 2, before we got it up and running. Ed took that project on, and with his resources and talents, you know, we got the new antenna up there by Jody's office. Those sirens are going to be tested. Saturday, so first Saturday of September, we'll be testing them. Now, I believe all of the tests that we try to do monthly will be manual. So we'll have to make sure that's covered with someone who will do that. You push a couple of buttons and you need to get on the mic and say something. I don't think we have recordings anymore, something like that. So you got to get on there and say something pleasant to all the citizens.
And you just have to remember to talk really slow.
Have that good radio voice.
So Ted is going to do it all the time?
Right. I've already got that.
I bet you do.
You'll have to wait till the first Saturday. So we look forward to
Name
that.
the recording.
I am just so thrilled.
We should have a contest in the city. Name that voice.
That'd be a good one.
I'm really thrilled that they are operational. They're just so important in my city. The last thing to mention is there was a very critical, disturbing situation in Utah County about firefighters being able to leave the state and fight fires out of state. Ed sent an email to the state officials. Anyway, his answer turned into a meeting here with a whole bunch of county fire chiefs still in this room to answer and to ask questions from those 3 officials from the state of Utah. So he is one of the favorite chiefs in the county now for calling that meeting and getting such a huge turnout in the matter of like 3 hours. It was incredible how many were here and how much they appreciated Ted calling that meeting and getting and we did get good answers from the state. So he is well known now in the county, Utah County portion of Utah.
Infamous.
So anyway, he's thanked for that meeting too. So, and that's all I have.
Thanks, Doro. Councilmember Lunt.
Hey, Finance Committee, we haven't met, so I don't have an update. Communication team, I mean, I think that's going pretty good.
I agree.
Just, you know, if you have something, and the thing that I like, you know, we kind of, and she stepped out, but between Jody and Lori and I, because sometimes I'm busy, obviously I have a different day job. So if there's something that's urgent, they post it, you know, we just kind of, in a way we share the responsibility, but it's worked really well. And I think it's great. So I have no issues, and everybody's been really supportive with the newsletter and the information. And I really appreciate that. I think it brings a lot of value because they're not just hearing from me, they're hearing from everybody. And I think the citizens like that. They like the input from everybody. So I think that's really good. I have a couple things. So Woodland Hills Days is coming up. I just thought I'd just really quick tell you what's going on. You guys are all going to have to be there. Sorry. I've committed you to a thing or two. Friday at 5, we have the car show, dinner at 6. We'll have a band, and dinner is J Dogs again. We'll have a band, the Rebels, Scott Dimmick. We have a couple of our local citizens that are in the band. We're having an art show, which we've had an art show in the community before, but they're going to have it with Woodland Hills Days. So there'll be some signage and people can go around. There'll be a map. They can go to the different studios and see the art. I think that will be a great addition. The Callies are bringing back the movie night. So after the dinner and the band, we'll have a movie. They got someone to donate for the licensing and the movie. It was $550, and then one of our citizens donated the money to cover that. So that didn't cost the city anything. They're going to sell a few concessions in hopes that they make a little bit of money to go towards the movie for next year. So, and then we'll have to figure it out for next year. There will be a 5K. Now here's where I have some, where I'm committing you guys and need some things. Okay, so the flag, so on Saturday, I need all of you guys, everybody you know, to spread the word that the Fireman's Breakfast is going to be here. And I really want, so much of Woodland Hills Days is for families or young kids or, you know, family aged, you know, the parents. But what I really want is the Fireman's Breakfast traditionally has been for a lot of the older members of our community. And when we moved it to the park, they quit coming. And so the last few years, our Fireman's Breakfast hasn't been as big and as good as it had been in the past. At least that's what everyone tells me. So I want you guys to really spread the word as much as you can. And I'm going to start promoting it. And I'm going to put some signs down by the mailboxes. But I think if we could just, you know, I just really want to get that portion of our community out again to the Fireman's Breakfast, see if we can get some good support. That's really my goal in moving it. Plus just the tradition of emptying out the fire station and having the, I just think it's kind of cool. So, but we're going to do a flag ceremony at about 9 a.m. The fire department doesn't have to do that because they'll be doing breakfast. But Mayor, we want you at the flag ceremony. You're going to be a part of that. Is that okay?
I'd be happy to.
We want to recognize some of the volunteers in our community. I think that would be a good place on the microphone. So we'll get a list. We'll kind of work on a list. I know we'll still forget people.
Yeah, no, I actually, so to that point, we talked a little bit about this
Yes.
before. So,
Yes.
and some special recognition too.
Yes.
So, but we don't want to reveal the presents before Christmas. So
No, we won't do that. But,
What time is the breakfast then? Is it before or after?
well,
the
that's
flag ceremony?
my other question. What I would like is, it'll be before. I'd like to start the breakfast at 8. We usually it's 8:30, but can we start it at 8:15 because we're trying to fit in.
You gotta ask him.
15 minutes.
I know.
Sure, that's tough.
It doesn't matter. It's not a, if you're not there at 8:15, you don't get breakfast. So it doesn't matter. It's just starting a little bit earlier for the people that are there early. And the reason is because there's also a parade. There's a lot that morning. So we're trying to fit it all in. So you don't have to be there at 8:15. You could still come at 8:30.
So will the parade go around here like it did in the
So
past?
I'm getting to it.
Okay.
So we'll start the breakfast. In the middle of the breakfast, we won't be done with breakfast, but we'll have at about 9, we'll have the flag ceremony. Breakfast will still be going on. People will be there. They'll be mingling. We'll have the flag ceremony. The fire department won't have to do the flag ceremony.
You can do it here, the flag
We're gonna do it here.
Okay.
Oh, good.
And somebody else will do it. You don't have to do it because you'll be doing breakfast. So I took that away. But if there's anything you want to have in the flag ceremony, let us know and we'd be happy to put that in. But then the parade. So at about 9:45, they want us to line up at the park. The idea is to get the people back to the park after the breakfast. So that's why the parade is going to line up at the park because we've got to, after the breakfast, we've got to draw the people back up there. But everybody has to be in the parade, and it's not like last year where you jump in someone else's Jeep because you didn't bring a vehicle.
I'm totally doing that again.
All of us have to bring our four-wheeler or our motorcycle or our whatever we got, decorate it a little bit, and you got to have some candy. You've
Can't
all
do a
been
motorcycle and
committed.
Candy.
Well, you're not very talented.
Do you have a saddlebag?
I do, but I've gotta have my hands on the handlebar.
Anyway,
You're going slow.
You gotta be creative.
so we all, and you're not jumping on the tailgate of someone's truck.
Make a
You got to
candy
bring your
spreader.
own rig of whatever you're doing. So that there's more of a parade, right? So there's more, and then we want the fire trucks and the ambulance and all that. And I'll talk to sheriff too. Okay. So sorry, but that's what I committed you guys to. So I needed that from you. And then
Brings that swap, big old nasty huge vehicle.
yeah, bring your boat, put
Yeah,
people
that'd
in
be
the
cool.
boat, or bring your camper. Well, I mean, whatever. Like, make it interesting. That's all I'm saying. If you have
I see a Disney theme going on right here.
if you've got some crazy vehicle, bring it and let's do it. Yeah. so I-
Vicky Mini, right there.
Anyway, and then all the usual things. We'll have games and bingo and the climbing wall and all the things. So I think that's all I've got there.
Awesome.
We do need the kids, so I need about 7 youth. That's what I had last time, so I do need those again. Also, they did have a couple of needs. So there's a BYU game that day, and they kind of wanted to get someone to be over a BYU watch party. So if you have it, no.
That doesn't mean turn it off.
No. And then someone to do the kids' games, somebody to kind of supervise, an adult. So if you know of anybody that might be willing to help.
Are they still doing booths too?
Yep, there'll be booths. There's several people that have signed up for booths already. There'll be a lot. There's going to be a lot going on, but it'll be fun.
I ain't doing another one of those.
Anyway, so yeah, that's all I got. But just know you guys all have to be
It'll
there.
be a fun time.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Thank you.
I didn't say you get to. I said you have to.
You were
There's no
voluntold.
asking there at all.
There was no asking.
All right, Councilmember Malkovich.
Yep, community development, they've been working on some things with Sunrise, gathering information, getting some survey things going so that they can present it at Woodland Hills Day. They'll probably have a booth. They'll probably have some other things going on. We have our next meeting scheduled for August 29th, and we'll probably talk about more of those details at that time. Public Works, between Ted and Brian, I think almost everything was said that we discussed at our last meeting. The only update only addition I have is we talked about the snowplow equipment update with some new blades. They're going to start training mid-September for the controls and the maintenance and making sure the salt is in the right place and everything else, because those blades are really expensive and we want to make sure that everyone
We need new
uses
controls.
them. Yes. Everyone.
Are we gonna get them?
I don't know. We're
Yeah.
hoping.
Yep. Right, so the new loader, all of those things are in the works for September, so we just have to hope that snow comes after
November?
that.
After West Loafer's done?
And so with that, we talked about, like was said, Broad Hollow Well project, the Maple Canyon Well discussion, the West Loafer contract, and the snowplows.
Great. Thank you. Okay, items for upcoming city council meetings. I will say, one of our residents, Janet, when we met with SESD, they requested that we have Hugo Thompson from I actually have not coordinated with him, but he and Dan Ellsworth from SESD, we hope to have at our next meeting. And so Hugo will be he was part of a leadership conference, the name of which escapes me, but he'll come and give a brief overview of that. And then I just thought it'd be good. I don't know how many of you know Dan Ellsworth, but he's on the board at SESD, and so I just think it would be good.
They showed us a little video of the camp that they put on. It's a leadership conference for youth. It was really cool. And one of our residents, Hugo, he got to go, and so they wanted him to come and just tell us about it.
Great.
Yeah, so we'll plan on that next
Cool.
meeting, assuming all the schedules line up. So anything else from anybody?
Nope.
Okay, well then, let's reconvene at 7:55.
Okay, great. Wait,
That's your crinkle cut chips?
well, I ran home and pounded down a PB&J. Yeah. We don't
Did they
know.
figure out what it is?
Nope. But his feet are huge. His hands,
Okay, Councilmember Kinnison, could we ask you to offer the invocation, and then Councilmember Hilliard, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful this evening to be here at this city council meeting. We are grateful for the citizens we serve and for the wonderful, beautiful city we live. We ask a blessing on those in our city that need assistance or help or comfort at this time. Bless them. Bless those that volunteer and serve in our city in many capacities. We are grateful for the great service they give to each of us. We ask thy blessings in making good decisions and helping us to do that which is best for our community. We pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Stand. Repeat with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, public comment. I think mostly did that. Yeah, well, there's not many public members remaining, so.
Monica, you don't have anything you want to grieve? You're gonna
Yeah,
wait?
she was complaining that the internet was slow. All right.
Now we know.
Yep.
Just about the mayor?
Just, yeah, just general complaining. All right, well, I guess that's sort of a public comment. Anybody online care to offer anything? Yeah, Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy Piquel. I just have a quick question. I don't know if this was discussed in the work session. I'm just joining for the meeting here. We have submitted an application for a permit for an ADU. Currently, we don't need that permit right away, but we still want to go through the process. One of the issues that we're facing is that there's not space in the mail center point or gang boxes for a basement apartment mailbox, which is a hurdle to having an apartment that you can rent out. So I'm asking the council what your plans are for installing a gang box now that ADUs are permitted in Woodland Hills and an address is required in the permit application for that use.
Okay, thank you. And for my part, I don't have a solution in mind. And I don't know, it would be something we would have to look into as far as post office requirements and so forth. I know that it was mentioned subdividing some of the larger boxes. I don't know the feasibility of that. I don't know what kind of capacity they need, but for my part, we can certainly look into that and make sure that we at least have a solution looking forward.
Yeah, I went to the post office today. They said that you could simply install more gang boxes at the roundabout underneath the awning that is currently provided for the message board. And the city would provide those gang boxes. A two-sided gang box is about $2,500. So it's not an incredible expense, but for those who want to pursue the ADU option, it's going to be a demand that the city will face.
Okay, no, great point. All right, I don't know if anybody, Ben, you look like you had something to say, but
Well, no, I think Judy kind of addressed that. I think currently in the short term, because there is, like you might see in the minutes of the work session, we talked about the potentiality of a relocation and expansion of the mailboxes with the Three Bridges development, which would drastically take care of this issue. But in the short term, people are typically getting a PO box down at the post office. but I think gang boxes is something we should probably look at least.
Yeah, I mean, and I'd have to look at how our ordinance reads, what the requirements are. I mean, I think that if we're gonna require people to have something, we need to provide them the tools to make it so. So, we'll make this part of our, actually, we've got a staff meeting tomorrow, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer not to wait for the new development to come in and new building and everything. It's, there is space down there and it could be utilized without a full redevelopment, at least temporarily at little or minimal cost. And I don't know why they were staying at the post office, why there weren't spaces available. As I went down today to collect my own mail, I counted about 15 unmarked boxes. I don't know if that's a requirement that the city has stipulated, that those boxes cannot be used for basement apartments. But when I asked the post office, they said that there are no boxes available for basement apartments, but there are boxes for new homes going in.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything other to report, but that's very helpful information. So, what we can do is we can at least provide a direction going forward and then reach back out to you if that's acceptable.
You gave us something good to think about because I hadn't thought about that before. When we approved the ADUs, I didn't realize, that we'd need a mailbox space. So
Yeah, it's not very convenient to ask a renter to get a PO box and have to pay for it.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay.
We'll be in touch, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And I don't think there's anyone else, so we will close the public comment portion and move on to item 11.
my office is flooded.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Got a video.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
PG.
fun.
Yeah, it's flooded. Button.
Well, at the risk of being insensitive, I'm going to come back to item 11, but I'm sorry that happened.
No, it's okay. Yeah, some of it's carpet, most of it's cement. Like the individual, the hallway is cement and the foyer, and then there's rugs, and then there's carpet in some of the offices. And it's all flooded. Somebody just sent me a video.
Well, to help you, Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the June 25th, 2024 City Council meeting in minutes.
Okay, thanks, Ben. A motion by Councilmember Hilliard, second by Councilmember Malkovich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 12, ordinance amending City Code 543 relating to fireworks.
Motion that we amend code to address this.
I'll second it.
Not certificate.
No, this is for
Oh, this is
fireworks.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm reading this part, but I
Yeah,
was meaning.
no, that's okay.
Change that.
Okay,
Motion to approve the ordinance amending fireworks.
okay. A motion by Councilmember Malkovich. And did
I'll-
you second it?
I'll second it for the fireworks.
Seconded by Councilmember Lunt. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Is this roll call?
Oh, yes, thank you. I even asked about that before. Councilmember Malkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Hilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Lunt, Councilmember Kinnison,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
Okay. That motion passes. Item 13, approval of the radios up to $16,000. Okay, a motion
I'll
by
second
Councilmember
that.
Hutchings, seconded by Councilmember Kinnison. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We do have a legal update. I mean, as long as we're not discussing it, it's public record. The motion to dismiss the appeal was denied, so now we will have to do the full briefing. So that is unfortunate, but it was not unexpected by our attorneys, so it would have been nice to have drawn that to a close.
Stas, huh?
Yeah, so, but it sounds like the timeline is going to be, we've got a brief due next month, but as far as a ruling, it could be a while yet. So it's unfortunate, but again, the research that was done further to that motion will just be incorporated into the next phase. So it wasn't money wasted. So as
Wonderful.
long as everybody's good with that update and we don't
Yeah.
talk strategy, we don't have to go
Okay.
into a closed session.
I think at some point we need to talk about, kind of put our ideal plan together with what was proposed with Three Bridges tonight. I don't know that that needs to be done tonight, but I think we need to put our thoughts together on where we want to be so that as the discussions further, we can start working towards them.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because the reason I was late getting back into the hall is because I was talking to Larry about the timeline he's looking at. So ideally, if we could make a decision, you could make a decision as a council on these high points next council meeting, then it would certainly be subject to various negotiations and terms being reached, but
So with the land involved, that would entail a closed session.
yeah, if we're talking specifics with land purchases, then we would need to enter into a
Should
closed
they
session.
need a little bit of engineering to be able to give us more detail than just this high level?
I think
There's
we
some
could,
things that are hard to make decisions
I
on.
think we could create decisions on contingencies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
Should we talk about it tonight for a minute then?
Oh, we can't help.
yeah, I mean,
Closed?
it,
Close we can.
well, I don't think we can because the closed session, it really is limited in what we can discuss. And so I would suggest that we talk offline and outside of council, obviously not in a quorum setting, but
Just
something.
asking questions if we have questions on these.
Yeah, and I would say take them directly to
Research.
Larry too. If you've got questions that you don't feel were satisfactorily answered tonight, then I would say
I
go to
just
him.
missed the first part.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I would say that, I mean,
could
any
ask
of
a
us can
couple of
debrief
you.
you on that. And then if you do want, information directly from the source, I hate to
I missed one. and two.
offer, yeah. And I don't love trying to summarize somebody else's point of view. I would rather you hear it directly from them. But to the extent that we can, if we're going to do this, to the extent that we can move it along forward, I do think that's in everybody's best interests. Not rushed, but moving forward.
Great.
Okay.
So two, I would actually recommend watching.
Oh, yeah.
Watching the video,
Yeah.
especially on two, because two, when I first looked at it, I was like, this is just asinine to even.
Yeah,
propose
Ted
this
had
stuff.
some good information on number
Um,
2.
Okay,
and
I'll
so
watch
that
the YouTube.
Helps.
Well, if it's really a replacement of no cost, as you.
And that's not what it says, and that, not at
Correct.
all. And what he said was a little bit better. But again, I firmly believe that this has to be a no cost to Woodland Hills.
Well, it's not a need for us. The mailboxes,
Exactly.
there's a need element to it. The drainage, for me, there's a need element to it. For the salt shed, there's no
No.
need.
But I will say that there are upgrades that could potentially be available. I mean, and I'm not saying that they would be
Yeah.
without cost because it might be something that we would need to kick in. But like I was talking to Ted about this today, and like we could add bays and
No,
make
and-
something
and
that would be
I'm
very specific.
all for paying for upgrades that we would want to, I mean, I get that side of it, but when it comes to the salt shed itself, it serves our purposes now and will
Yeah.
serve our purposes for many years.
I agree.
And if they want to do something like that, I mean, and want us to vacate that, I mean, this talks about us buying the property, the way it comes across. Woodland Hills could secure new land, and I am 100% against that.
Well, I think Wade's saying that they would pay us fair market.
Ed,
Fair market value.
is there a
Gotta
microphone
get
back
on
there?
mic.
Then we would take that money and purchase. it.
Yes, but that's not how it's worded at all. They're saying fair market value for the current shed, not for the property, not for the, I mean, it doesn't even talk about taking over the property. It talks about us buying property.
Yeah, and I think the idea is that we would buy the property, but we would use the proceeds from the fair market value cost to do that. Now, that's where we have to get into the numbers and figure out if that makes work because,
Sure.
and I would agree, we want them buying the property for the salt shed. We want to be buying it. We just want to make sure that the money we get from the value of what we sell can cover what we buy.
Yeah, and that's why I
Yeah.
said it needs to be zero cost.
So Mayor, if we have to vote on this next time, but basically if we approve this, we're saying that we want to look into these further. That
Yeah.
We're willing to, we're not saying, yep, right now, knowing nothing, we're approving these. We're saying
Correct.
that we're willing to move forward, have them spend more time and money and effort into looking into this, right?
Yeah.
That's what our vote would be.
Yeah, it would
Right.
not be approving any of it specifically. It would be just approving, like, these are items that,
We'd like
with
to see.
correct terms, we can get behind. And then
Okay.
we move to the next level, which would be really brass
Because
tacks.
it's kind of like the having the rentals here, a lot of it are like, we don't want it. And so Wayne, he's tabled it because why spend time and effort on it if none of us are going to vote for it? So this is kind of the same thing.
And that was Larry's point. He says, if it's a hard no, it gives me direction.
Mhm.
So I can go somewhere else.
Right.
But if you're willing to continue these ideas, then at least we can get to that point of the details
Okay,
of the
I
negotiation.
just wanted clarification because I think
And I think all of the 6 different things might have a different answer, so I don't think it's.
Well, they do, but-
contingent on-
I mean,
Can we
do
move
not
forward
take
on those
into
items?
consideration, he's going.
But
they're
you're not
going
approving,
well
we're not
above and
approving
beyond
anything. We're
on
just
the-
saying
on
we
the-
want to
the
investigate it
stormwater.
more.
Yeah,
I mean.
that's a big win for
We
us.
have the responsibility for our stormwater and that's huge. So they're going way above and they are going to pay extra to handle our stormwater. It's not like it's going to be.
And I hate to say this, but some of these things are really good for the future of Woodland Hills. They just are. And the subdivision's gonna come in whether we want it or not.
Yeah.
So either
Those
we're a part of
houses-
it and we benefit from it or we don't. Like, those are our choices. We either find a way to benefit and make our community better or we don't.
I don't.
Number 4, those houses for that, or that number 3, those houses will be there.
Right.
It's just a matter of whether they'll be in Woodland Hills or Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So-
they'll take it away.
Yeah.
I would,
He could.
yeah,
Ben, tell me,
Yeah.
on number 4,
Uh-huh.
that tax thing is that really going to amount to much, do you think?
well, in my opinion is, like I just said, I believe the houses will be there whether
True,
they're being Salem or not.
true.
Number 4 gives us a potential.
I mean, it was part of our original agenda,
know,
so
but
I
I'm just kind of
think,
wondering if it's part of council or
In
part
the
of
discussion side of
the
things.
discussion side. But on that, it says Woodland Hills, a portion of the transient tax. And so his wording again,
Wording
tying
was
to
bad,
yours,
really
the
bad.
wording is bad because.
They
then I
threw this
asked him, is it
together.
the tax? Because Salem
We
pays
heard it.
sales
We
tax,
heard it.
right? And
Yeah.
So to
But-
answer your
But-
question,
But I don't know
Carl?
if that's hundreds of dollars or thousands.
well, and that's one of the things they'll give us.
Yeah.
In my
Okay.
opinion, like I said, the houses will be there. We're going to get a potential revenue stream
Yeah.
from the property
And
taxes.
it's constant.
without it being the hotel people. So there was a negative that we thought maybe the revenues would offset the negative, meaning a transient population or,
Mhm.
we were concerned about public safety, the maybe need for increased police force, things like that.
Mhm.
With a hotel
We're
is what
not-
you're talking about.
Yes, we're not getting that baggage, but we're potentially getting a revenue stream.
Something.
I think it's the best possible solution without me thinking more on it, which I will. I think it's one of the best possible solutions for how to make money out of that property.
Well, and I think he's offering that so that we'll.
Yeah.
That's how it-
And I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, he's talking really high-end hotels, and it's hard to say if they will want to set up shop here. And I don't know what the status of their negotiations are, but I mean, we would want to account for that contingency as well. Like, okay, let's say you can't get the super high-end Marriott. Instead, you get a bunch of residence inns, which I don't think you would go for. But I mean, I think that we can take that into account. But the reality is like, even if we, I mean, I don't see this as being something that is going to make us flush with cash. I mean, this is going to be something that will help, but it's not going to keep the city afloat.
Right.
And to your point, Ben, I think that it's going to be there either way. So, I mean, we can either make zero on it or we
Yeah.
can make a little bit on
Anything.
it.
Well,
Yeah.
and remember, with that higher density, there's also the property tax element as well.
Yes.
So we'll get a double ding,
Yeah.
or not a ding, but a double influx of cash.
Yeah.
And that's
More
one of the
so than
biggest
we're
issues that we have up here because everything's an acre. And we're not getting I mean, our property taxes are high, but if there were 4 lots on that 1 acre, we'd get a lot more property. tax.
Well, I look at Elk Ridge. Elk Ridge has some really nice stuff. I mean, I drive up Elk Ridge since the parkway is closed,
Yeah.
and I mean, they've got really nice infrastructure. They got nice medians. I mean, so they have more money because they have more density. I
Yeah.
think because it's not because they're spendthrifty. It's because they just have more money.
And honestly, I believe that the roundabout access for them is the best for traffic flow. Is going to be by far, or we're going to end up with another stop there or both.
Well, and you're coming down the hill in the winter and you have a stoplight.
Intuitively, it seems like it's a
It
no-brainer.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
also,
seems
they're
like a
going to come up
disaster.
anyway. If we have them go north and they're going to hang a left and they're going to come up to the roundabout and then they're going to kick out to the New Benjamin entrance to the freeway. I just, as Spanish Fork gets worse and worse and worse. So I just say, just take them right through anyway. Like just,
So
because that a stoplight or a stop sign right there.
Yeah, it would.
It's
It seems
I mean,
it would be.
we already are
perfect.
seeing a lot going through there now. I mean, we're seeing the increased traffic going on that road. It will.
That's a plus.
Right. Way to see the glass half full.
Wow. Oh, you sound like.
All right. Well, I think that was a good discussion, and I do want to be careful, like you said, Kara. I don't want to go beyond the scope of.
I think Jody would tell us though if we were being inappropriate.
Okay. Well, so next time, if you could all come ready to hopefully make a decision
So do
related
we
to the
need
next
to have,
step.
I mean, are we looking at just saying, yes, we're willing to look at these things? Or do we want to actually give some input to these?
I would say your input on 2, I believe is probably, if I can speak for everybody here, the majority of our thought. So we could say for 2, at a 0 cost, we would be interested in entertaining that idea.
Yeah, well, make
Because we're-
contingencies.
The vote has to be on each one separately.
We could probably do it either way, but
Yes.
But again, we're not approving anything. We're just saying we're willing to consider it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But are you absolutely opposed to moving the salt shed? If you're absolutely opposed to it, then it's a non-starter, and let's just.
So I would
everyone
also
move on.
recommend people talk with Jody and Ted about the options that we have if you haven't already talked to them, because I have. And so looking at the other options for the salt shed is something that you should do, just so you've got that in your head.
Frankly, the one that worries me most is water, but I could talk to Ted about that. I
Yeah.
just
Well,
have a
and the
question.
thing to consider with water too is they will be tapping into that aquifer either way.
Regardless.
I mean,
Either
so
way.
it's not so we
True,
won't be able to stop
true.
them from tapping into
True.
And
it.
there's 2 things, because do we want to
Oh,
sell to
okay.
them or sell to Salem? Because if we do the thing to Salem that we're talking about, we still own the water rights, but we
Well,
only use part, right? And then, but if we sell to them, they're wanting the water rights and the water and the well. So there's some differences in who we sell to.
And I don't want
why.
to speak for Ted, but my understanding in talking to him is that our share of that well would not be enough to supply the golf course and our future
It's going to
capacity.
require another well.
Right.
They said they were going to make their another one, right?
They've already been told that.
If we could make it an option in Woodland Hills and then make that part of an annexation arrangement, I
There you
really
go.
do think.
There
I mean,
you
I think
go.
it's a win-win.
Yeah,
think-
I love that,
Love
man.
the idea.
I think there's an element here, because if I'm correct, and I might way be breaching the bounds of what we can talk about here, but if Salem has increased their building permit fees like I've heard they have, it's almost double ours. I don't know if Henry or Larry knows that. That could be a big game changer for him too, because cost could potentially double.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
I mean, to me, it's something that let's keep that option on the table too,
I hope
because
so.
I think, I mean, you know, I wouldn't see this as something where we can invite them in and then suddenly put a bunch of restrictions on them. And I think we would have to
Right.
keep them as is and
Right.
say, okay, well,
As their development agreement with sales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it would have to
then
be
that'd be
Has
fair.
input on that.
And that would be fair, yeah.
I would think that would be fair.
Well, because our sewer is right there at the roundabout. And the water, that we could make this thing work for them fairly easy.
and in a really beneficial way to our community,
Yeah,
I
the
believe.
downhill sewer below there, I'm not sure how you'd get that up to the roundabout.
See, and I guess,
Booster
because
station.
I'm
Booster
resigned to
station,
the fact it's
booster
going to
station.
happen, so the
Okay,
trick is
okay.
how does it benefit our community?
Yeah,
We have no choice. It's coming. We can't stop it.
yeah.
You can be mad about it all you want, but we can't stop it. But,
Oh, there are people that wanna stop
but
it.
we need to figure
So-
out how to make it benefit our community.
Yeah, I agree.
Certainly guarantee us good snow
We need more trucks. But I need a bigger
We need
truck.
Yeah,
more.
need a
please.
bigger boat. All right, well, I think that was a good discussion. So next time,
You
we'll see if
know,
we can advance.
we
it.
might want to throw snow removal on here because we're really equipped to do that for them.
We're equipped to do what we have. We'd have to expand to do. what
Well,
they have.
we can do it easier than Salem can, drive their junk all the way over here.
Well,
I mean, it's
Salem-
just
Yeah.
something, it's
look-
something to
look at the
consider.
job Salem does below the roundabout. It's not great.
That's the county, though.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
But
but-
it's
but-
not great.
I agree.
I mean, why not?
It's what?
Well,
Yeah.
If they're smart.
Well, yeah, the solution is join us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to do them, I mean, we had to offer.
Yeah.
It would
Okay.
sure be fun.
Or a fee.
I'd love to plow a bridge.
Big fee.
All right, well, if we can get a motion to adjourn, that should do
I'll
it.
make a motion.
Okay, a motion by Councilmember Lunt,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilmember Hutchings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Chris. See you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye.